Welcome to Housing for Good, a podcast dedicated to housing topics and issues affecting our communities in McPherson County and beyond. With years of experience and expertise, hosts Chris Goodson and Karolyn Moore discuss housing challenges and opportunities with other experts from a variety of housing fields.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
So, Chris, all I have for news is Brush Up Mac. Do you have anything?
I don't have anything right now. I mean, we've talked about so many different things over the last couple months. And,
we have, yeah.
You know, the wildfires and natural disasters. We've had a lot of great speakers coming on. Yeah. I don't think there's anything going on in the community that we need to talk about at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brush Up Mac, just for those of you that are listening, is April 19. We are currently taking applications for homeowners and volunteers, and you can get those applications on our webpage. You can find them at the Chamber, Citizens Senior Center, the Council on Aging. I've got some at the American Legion and the library. So
yeah,
if you have trouble finding one in one of those spots, give me a call, 620-241-7828, extension 17, and I'll be happy to help you out.
And make sure people understand that this is a countywide initiative. It's not
Absolutely.
just the city of McPherson. So if maybe you're in Canton or Galva or Inman or Lynchburg and you want to participate, just give us a call and we can help you coordinate that.
Yeah. Now, I will say for Inman, they have their own weekend that they do Brush Up Inman. But yeah, if you have never heard about us or you'd like to get something started, give us a call. We'll be happy to talk with you about how to put that together. And
something fun too, I think, is if you're from another community, say maybe another county or something in Kansas or across the country, and you're interested in having a Brush Up Mac, maybe they don't even know what that is. Maybe we ought to just talk about that for just a couple minutes. What is Brush Up Mac and why does anybody care about it? And how can somebody start that in their community?
Sure. So basically what it does is we take volunteers and put them with homeowners that need help with their properties, whether it's yard or minor maintenance, minor home repairs. It kind of depends on the talent of the volunteers as to what we're able to do. For the homeowners, you have to be low income. You have to own your home or be buying it. So elderly or just low income.
And what I love about it is it lets seniors stay in their homes.
Yes.
So which is much better for them to be able to stay in their home, be in their neighborhood, be in places that are familiar with them. Maybe they have a pet they love and they can't take it with them if they end up in a nursing home.
Yeah.
So it's a great project. It helps keep neighborhoods in good shape. So if I'm working on my house, my next door neighbor's like, oh, maybe it would be worth adding some more value to my home by fixing the roof or painting.
Yeah.
You know, people sometimes they tend to not care if nobody else cares. And as you begin to improve neighborhoods, it helps everybody. So property values and all of that. So we would encourage you to participate. If you live in a community that doesn't have a Brush Up Mac, you could call it Brush Up, whatever your community is called, and do that. I'd love to see something like this across the nation. It's such a cool project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, today we have Carissa Paxton. Carissa is from the Hutchinson, Kansas community. And Carissa, why don't you introduce yourself, your position, and kind of what you guys have done down there?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Yeah, my name is Carissa Paxton, and I am the housing coordinator for the City of Hutchinson. The City of Hutchinson has recently taken on housing as a community-wide issue. And when previously we were not all...
Maybe not all on the same page. Everybody was going a different direction.
Yes, and not collaborating. Everybody knew that we were having housing problems, but the right people weren't maybe at the table with the right resources to accomplish the things that needed to be done. And ARPA for us was a really big infusion into improving our housing condition. Our county established a ARPA task force, and they did a bunch of community listening sessions and put out surveys to residents of Reno County to see what it is that they thought that this money should be spent on. And that came with three things, top three: childcare, housing, and workforce development. So that's exactly what we did, what we allocated our money for. And as the housing coordinator, that was a position that the city hadn't staffed in quite a few years. It used to be an associate planner, so in the planning and zoning department. They moved my position into the Department of Strategic Growth. So instead of thinking like a planner, starting to think strategy and long-term plans.
Okay, so I have a question. You said getting the right people at the table. How did you do that? Because that is one thing I feel like we struggle with here in McPherson, is bringing the right folks to the table.
So we have some really amazing nonprofit organizations that service our area, and we typically see everybody at the Housing Commission meetings once a month. And before I had this position, I was a housing commissioner. So we have Interfaith Housing and Community Services, New Beginnings, and then SCED, the South Central Kansas Economic Development District. And those are our three big players. We have the Hutchinson Community Foundation, and we have United Way, who maybe previously weren't as involved in housing, but seeing the need in the community have brought them in. And then our Chamber of Commerce, they focus on economic development. And now the thought is that housing is economic development. So we are getting really good support from our chamber as well.
Absolutely. It's really hard to grow your businesses
if you don't have housing and
have
people.
Workforce development if you don't have a place for them to live. So
I'm totally jealous of what's going on in Hutchinson. I mean, and the fact that your county and your city came together with those ARPA funds. I don't think people understand when those ARPA funds came, housing was something that money could be used for. And unfortunately here, for us, that money was not used for that purpose. And so we didn't have those extra funds to do some of the things that we were really wanting to do.
Yeah.
So I am totally jealous. And wow, I don't know who was on your commission at the time, but very forward-thinking people that understand housing is a huge economic development. I mean, housing, jobs, it all goes hand in hand, and you can't build housing. You can't build your business if you don't have people. You can't have people if you don't have housing. It's all connected.
Yeah.
So
it impacts your schools.
Yeah.
It impacts housing impacts literally everybody. So, yeah. What were the key housing initiatives recently introduced in Hutchinson?
So we had some new ones, and then we got to expand some programs in some really unique ways. Some of our big ones, we actually call it Brush Up Hutch. And it's a residential exterior painting program. So when we first invented Brush Up Hutch, it was a reimbursement program. So if you paint your house, we would reimburse, I think it was maybe $300. And the cost of everything has gone up since then.
Yeah.
We as a city happily fund that program, but then we have asked Interfaith Housing to administer the program and run it. And they have just done amazing things with it. Now it's a voucher program, and they work exclusively with Sherwin-Williams. So somebody from Interfaith and Sherwin-Williams come, they measure your house, and then they give you a voucher for $1,500 for paint and supplies.
Where does that money come from?
We as a city have a housing budget every year, but then thanks to ARPA, we got to service, I think we did 95 homes in Hutchinson alone.
That's incredible.
Wow.
That's incredible. What a great use of those funds. That's something that we're always trying to do, is expand our Brush Up MAC, which is countywide, to try to figure out, we have to raise funds every year for that program, and we only have limited funds. We couldn't do 95 homes at $1,500 a pop and make that work.
No, Lindsborg tried something similar, and they've done it for a couple of years. They've had some success, but I think that program is kind of struggling. So I'm not sure moving forward what that's going to look like. But I love it when the communities realize that we can help each other and we can make this happen. Okay, so good deal. What's another key housing initiative that you guys have done?
So the Housing Commission was allocated some of those ARPA funds for the Housing Commission to decide how they should be spent. And they kind of did accepted proposals on it. And one of those things came from the Hutch Rec. And it is from the neighborhood development section of Hutch Rec. They proposed what's called the block by block program. So in Hutchinson, we have 7 or 8 highlight neighborhoods is what we call them. They're featured neighborhoods. They have a name, a little bit of a neighborhood association. Oh. They meet monthly. They do social events and just to get a sense of community in those areas. So the The Hutch Rec proposed the block by block program, which is when you get a few people, 3 to 5, on your block and focus on exterior upgrades to your home. Then Hutch Rec will reimburse you up to $1,500 of those exterior improvements. So we had people fixing fences, porches, some painting, sprucing up flower beds, things like that. And so when 3 to 5 people on your block are actively improving the curb appeal of their home, that really spreads. They say that blight creeps, but so does improvement. And so does just pride in your neighborhood.
What's Rec Commission? What is that?
So the Hutch Rec, they like your recreation commission that does like T-ball and
okay. That's what I was
sports.
thinking, but I was like, how does that tie in? So that was kind of, I was like, how is that connected?
Yeah. I know it is funny and not something that we see, but they were the recipients of a grant that was focused on results from our community health assessment. And the results of this basically told us that if we could put healthy initiatives in our neighborhoods, just in the residential areas, and build a sense of community around healthy neighborhoods, that it would benefit us greatly and it would turn around some of the adversities that we were seeing in that community health assessment. So it used to have a pretty big active living and fitness component, but now it's really just about building a sense of community. It's about increasing home ownership rates. It's community pride, knowing your neighbors, and civic engagement. So something really exciting that's coming out of that is the Civic Engagement Academy, which is the rec and the city are partnering together to walk the residents of these neighborhoods through basic city processes, how to get on a board and commission, like the Housing Commission, how to apply for a fence permit or a building permit, explaining how the tax assessments work and things like that, different programs that we have, different ways that they can be involved. What we're trying to convey is that we work as a team. It's not us at the city office versus all of our residents. We are all on the same team, and it's Team Hutch, and we want to collaborate around that, and we want them to know how to be involved and how to engage with their local government and be a part and make a difference.
I love that.
I know. This is awesome.
So
awesome.
jealous.
I know. I don't
My
want to move to
God.
Hutch, but I think it's awesome.
My envy level is rising.
I know. What a cool. I know Hutch is maybe not as coordinated as they are, but I went to an interfaith housing. It's when they had their 20th anniversary. This has been quite many years ago, and they invited us, and I was like, wow. At that time, the city was they had some big initiative they were trying to do back then, and I don't remember what year that was, but I was jealous back then. This is so awesome what you're doing, and bringing nonprofits together with the government agencies and all these other groups. That's what it takes to be able to make all this stuff work. It's not one group. That's what we tell people. We're McPherson Housing Coalition, but we can't do this by ourselves. We need funding. We need volunteers. We need government partners to make all this work. So people, this is a group, this is a community that's got to figure it out in my mind.
Yeah.
Except they don't have our tiny homes yet. But anyways.
But we'll work on that. Okay, so when we became aware, we meaning the Housing Coalition, became aware of what you guys were doing down there, it was because there were homes that had been bought, they had been rehabbed, and they were now for sale. And this was your city and your county working together with the agencies you mentioned earlier. Tell us how that all started coming together, the number of houses that have been involved, kind of the funding, and how that's circling back into the program to keep it going.
Yes, so that's called our Resurgence program. And the best thing about this ARPA infusion of money was that it allowed us to think a little experimentally, try things that we normally couldn't do with our regular government budgets and with regular grants. So SCED and Interfaith both started on this purchase, rehab, resell model. They were buying houses that were not listed on the market. They'd been sitting vacant for a very long time. They'd just taking up, just being a vacancy that was absolutely a hindrance to the community and what could be a good home. But the level of work that they needed was more than any one person's general capacity could be. So it's not just a flip. It wasn't just coats of paint. They were handling structural issues. They were adding bedrooms and bathrooms and egress windows and really nice finishes in these homes, and then listing them on the open market at a completely fair and reasonable price for the area. There wasn't a subsidy involved there or anything. It's just what the house is worth now based on the work that they've put into it. The house sells, it goes back into the Resurgence account, and they can flip another. So SCED's initial contract is for 5, and so far they have done 3 and are looking for their 4th house now. And Interfaith has done, I know that they have sold 1, and I think that they are currently working on their 2nd. So it's been a really exciting way to improve our vacancy rate, to get some of those other vacants that the census tells us that we have too many of, get those houses back into the hands of families who need them.
And they're really putting them in neighborhoods that's going to improve the whole neighborhood.
Yes.
Because we actually went to Hutch. As a licensed real estate appraiser, I'm very connected to, I actually appraise in Hutchinson regularly. And so I got an invitation, and I was like, hey, Karolyn, we have to go to Hutch and go see what this looks like and talk to Interfaith and see what was going on. SCED was there. And so I was like, this is awesome.
Well, and the homes were beautiful.
Awesome. Yes, beautiful.
The work they did, like you said, it was structural. It was big money work, but they were able to do it in such a way that then they're putting that back into the community, and that money's cycling.
Yeah.
Now, they did tell us, and tell me if they've had any improvement, but they said most of the houses they've worked with have all been city limits. This is a county-wide initiative, but they really hadn't had any interest yet from the county smaller communities. Is that still accurate?
Yes, that's true. All of the Resurgence properties have been in Hutchinson proper. And I think that they would be open to doing a Resurgence home in any of the smaller communities. They, I don't think, just have the scale of a vacancy problem that we're seeing in Hutchinson.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a lot more availability of homes you can purchase at a reasonable price to make this whole thing work.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So what funding streams were used with these homes? You mentioned SCED. Did SCED provide their work for free?
So SCED, this was really fun. It's really fun to me as a housing nerd. I guess I'm in good company.
Yeah.
They got to leverage a lot of different levels of funding. So SCED, normally they have the weatherization program. Mm-hmm. And so that's federal monies that they use. It's about, I think, $11,000 per home, where they do a weatherization assessment and then go in and replace HVAC systems, insulation, windows, things like that weatherize the home. And they make it like what they consider a 20-year maintenance free for those weatherization components. And so they got to use that program on these houses, as well as the homeowner rehab program that Interfaith has. So we really just got to leverage in all of these existing programs, layer them on top in a big ARPA sandwich, and just accomplish way bigger things together than they ever could have done separately. And the impact was massive.
Well, and that really, Chris and I have been to the State House. We've talked to the legislators. That's how these housing programs work. Right. You have to be able to stack and layer and bring in different fundings for different components of what you're trying to do in order to make it work.
Yeah, otherwise you can't, there's no way. It's not economically feasible to do it without layering funding. And that's also what we do at the Housing Coalition with our non-congregate shelter, is we layer funding. Otherwise, none of it works. Yeah. You have to have different sources to be able to make all these programs work. And that's something that's really important if you're a legislator and you're listening.
Yeah.
We really need to be able to stack funding in order to make anything work and to make it economically feasible for whoever's doing that project.
So what kind of community response have you seen from the work that's being done on these homes?
It's been really exciting. When we have homes that are in the homeowner rehab program or receiving weatherization or in the block by block or brush up hutch, it spreads. For a lot of those programs, you get a yard sign, so they know that something exciting is going on, and it's not long, and then they visualize the actual excitement and improvement, and then people around start taking care of their homes and maintaining, applying for the programs and doing the same thing and telling their friends about it. We spent some of our ARPA monies at the Housing Commission's portion with a local advertising and media company called Bowercom. And they created a website for us, RenoCountyHousing.com, and have been telling the story of the ARPA monies and what that's done for our community. And we push those out on social media. We've done some TV commercials on streaming TV, press releases, all kinds of just getting the word out. These programs exist. They're helping people. They're your neighbors, and you should know about them, and you should get your hands on these resources because they're for everyone. And that has been really helpful. It's generated a ton of community response, and it's all been so positive and uplifting, and people see the difference, and it's really changing the reputation of how people feel about Hutchinson and what our city looks like. So
was there any major obstacles doing all of this? Is there something you were like, man, this was difficult, or I wish I could have done this differently, or maybe you wanted to make something bigger and you couldn't, or what did that look like?
Personally, I wish we could have done a little more new construction. We now have a pretty exciting amount of developments that are in the works and coming, but just the amount, would have been awesome if we could just get sticks in the air and actually build houses. But the aging housing stock that we have, 47% of the homes in Reno County were built before 1960. And
that's a high amount.
It is. And a huge portion of that were built even before 1930. So we have a serious aging housing stock problem, and aging houses take money. But they're our best source of naturally occurring affordable housing because you just can't build houses like that for that cost anymore. So we really had to work on our blight and take control of that and just revitalize and stabilize our existing housing stock. Recognizing that was such an important need took time, and then building an approach around that revolved a lot of strategic effort.
So a lot of this that you're doing is for home ownership, or repair and rehab is all for home ownership. Are you doing anything for rental property or for really low-income families? Is any of that part of this, or is that future?
So sked weatherization is just for the person who lives in the home, whether they own it or they rent. That is sked weatherization, and that's a statewide program that exists for anyone. Brush Up Hutch is a home ownership program, and so is homeowner rehab, but that is targeted towards low-income and senior citizens. As far as
rental properties,
yeah, I'm thinking, I don't think that block by block you had to be a homeowner, but you did maybe need landlord permission, things like that. But there were even landlords who were fixing up their rental properties in these neighborhoods. So
it's interesting. I mean, it seems like they are helping people on the low income side, and also more moderate. I think some of the houses that you did are really going to be more of a moderate families. Some of those.
Yeah, the resurgence homes. So where those hit on the fair market is definitely moderate income. But if there's somebody who is living in a much more affordable house than what they could afford or what they wish that they had, they just don't have the options. This gets them out of that starter home and into this home, frees up that starter home or that rental property for somebody else, which is really what our housing assessment told us, is that we don't really have enough housing supply in any bracket, but that there is a lot of people who could and wish and desire for a nicer, more expensive home that we just don't have. So they are competing for those same affordable units that people who need the affordable housing are competing for. So making sure that we are targeting all income levels and all housing types has been really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your
awesome.
future long-term goals for the housing situation and housing initiatives?
We don't want to lose momentum. So we're hoping that we can get together with our community partners and creatively find a way to keep funding these programs. Maybe not at the level that we could with ARPA, but definitely still a substantial investment. Our housing assessment told us we need to build about 100 units a year over the next 10 years.
Which is a lot.
It's a lot of houses.
That's a lot of housing.
So that's my biggest goal, if that's as my position as housing coordinator. 100 units a year for 10 years, that's the goal.
How many builders and developers, contractors do you have that are bought into this and that want to be a part of it?
Now that we're sharing the presentation of our housing needs assessment, we're getting a lot more developer action than we had been over the last 10 or 15 years or so. 20.
So I'm curious as to how you're sharing that. Are you having public meetings, or how are you sharing that information?
So consultants from RDG came to the City Council and the County Commission, and then they'll be at South Hutchinson City Council in 2 weeks. Now I'm taking the presentation on the road, so all of the civic groups, nonprofit boards, the Realtors Association, things like that, just making sure that we are sharing the goals and the strategies and our objectives that are outlined in that housing needs assessment. So that's my job. I'll be
We love
on the road.
RDG. We worked with them They've helped us just recently complete a McPherson County housing study. And so I feel like we're right on your coattails. We're trying to figure out, okay, what does that thing tell us?
Yeah.
And what do we need to do next? And then getting, like you said at the beginning, getting all of the important voices to the table and making everybody realize this is not just a low-income housing issue. This is not an work-based issue. This is everything. Depends on your housing.
Yeah, and it's great that you've been able to have such momentum that you're moving forward. There's so many great jobs in this area. I know we've been bringing people in from Manhattan to work in McPherson. They're coming from Wichita, Manhattan, all over the place, and we would like to have them here to be able to leave that money in McPherson County instead of driving away with it.
Yes, that's the goal.
It can't churn if it's somewhere else.
Yeah,
we can't. And then the other thing, again, like you talked about, housing is economic development. McPherson Housing Coalition, for instance, we add $3 million to the local economy with our projects and everything that we're doing. I can't imagine what you guys are adding if people were to add it up and figure out, with all the remodeling and all of the things that you're doing, that's got to be adding a lot of money to your county. Or at least to the City of Hutchinson. Yeah, we haven't put pen to paper yet, but that was something that we were getting really excited about. One of the stories on RenoCountyHousing.com is from one of the contractors who was doing a lot of the electrical work. So many contractors got to expand their businesses, hire new crews. I mean, it created so many new jobs. It increased the tax base and the property values. It was just such a big economic driver from all standpoints. And I think our legislators, that's the thing when we're talking about affordable housing. I think that's the piece that we miss, explaining to them that it's not only an issue about housing and that low-income people and moderate-income people and people that do need workforce housing. It's an economic issue for electricians and plumbers and builders and city, all of these different things, the tax bases. So I think that's something that we really need to do a better job pushing and explaining how this affects your county and city economically.
Yeah. Well, I know when Chris and I went to Hutchinson and we saw the houses, and then we came to a commission meeting of some sort. It was in the evening.
It was their housing.
Yeah, you were at our housing commission.
I was at their housing commission, and I was like, wow, I'm jealous all over the place again.
So when we left there, Chris looked at me and she said, we have to have them come to our next housing conference.
Yes.
So we're going to be contacting you to ask you to come and do a presentation, maybe our keynote, to tell the folks that come how Hutchinson did this, how everybody worked together with the same common goal. So for our community and other communities that might be listening, these guys have already forged the path. It's just our responsibility now to learn what they have to teach, to figure out how to follow in those footsteps, and to improve everybody's situation. Chris and I get asked all the time with our emergency shelter cottages. I don't know if you've seen those on South Oak. But they're like, how did you do this? And you did this with no federal funds? Wait a minute, how did you do this? So it's like we've already done it. We have the blueprint. It's just now getting the word out. And I love that you're taking the story on the road for anybody that will listen, because there is a way forward.
Yeah, we all just have to learn from each other and help each other. And that's why we are always offering to help or to have a phone call or present at a meeting, just like you are doing for Hutchinson. We would love to have this spread across the nation, because this is what, they're looking for all these big answers. It doesn't have to be huge.
No, it's going to take small, manageable steps to put it in place.
Yeah.
So, Carissa, if someone's listening today and they say, oh, my gosh, I got to get this girl to come talk to my community, how do they reach you?
So you can reach me by phone. My office line is 620-259-4151, or by email. I'm Carissa, Carissa .Paxton, Paxton, @hutchgov.com.
So I am just so thrilled that you came today.
This has been awesome.
I feel like we need to have more of these conversations. And like I said, I think we're going to be reaching out to you about our upcoming housing conference in August and figuring out kind of how to get you here to talk about what we're doing. so if you would like to be on our podcast or you know somebody that you'd like to hear from, drop us a line, get a hold of us at housingforgood@mcphersonhc.org.
Yeah, leave us a review too.
Absolutely.
How are we doing? Do you love the people that we have on? Do you have some suggestions? Do we need to do something different?
Absolutely.
Give us that information. So thank you for listening to Housing for Good. Have a great day.